Yes, Ira. So we will start from where we left the last time. Start
Yes,
from
sir.
that night.
Yes, sir.
Start from that night. He strolled into the Palette Club.
Okay, sir. Sir, I can't find it in my book. It must have been read. Can I read from the PDF, sir? That
Yes,
is,
sure.
yes, sir. My dear Alan.
No, I'm saying that night he
Oh,
strolled
sorry, sir.
into
Sorry, sir. Sir, that night he strolled into the Plat Club with
Palette Club.
a yes, sir.
Yes.
Pallet Club about 11 o'clock when and found Trevor sitting by himself. Well, Alan, did you get the picture finished all right? He said. Finished and framed, my boy, answered Trevor. But you have made a conquest. That old model you saw is quite devoted to you. I had to tell him all about you, who you are, where you live, what your income is, what prospects you have. My dear Alan, cried Yugi, I shall probably find waiting for me when I go home, poor old wretch. I wish I could do something for him. I have got heaps of old clothes at home. Do you think he would care for them? Why, his rags were falling to bits. But he looks splendid in them, said Trevor. I wouldn't paint him in a frock coat for anything. What you call rags, I call romance. What seems poverty to you seems
It's
bitter.
yes,
Yes, sir.
picturesqueness for me. Means
Picturesqueness
yes,
for me.
yes, very pleasing, very attractive. All right.
Yes,
So now see what is happening. Now, when Hughie got a good scolding from Laura, so now he's taking a stroll, stroll walking slowly, wandering on the streets, right? So he was taking a stroll on the streets and then he went to the palette club. See, palette is that small tray in which the painters mix their colors and all. Remember when we were doing the oval portrait, there also the palette and the brush was mentioned. So palette is that small tray which is used by painters. So he went to the palette club, means it must have been a club which was made by the painters, right? So at about 11 o'clock, and he found Trevor sitting by himself. So Trevor was sitting alone in the palette club, and Hughie went up to him. Well, Alan, did you get the picture finished all right? So now Hughie is asking that was your picture completed all right? Was it fine? Finished and framed, my boy, answered Trevor. So Trevor is saying that it was finished and framed as well. But you have made a conquest. So now Trevor, his friend, is saying that I have finished my painting, but actually you have made a victory. Conquest means a victory. That old model you saw is quite devoted to you. Okay, so naturally, when the old man saw that this man is so good, he's giving me charity when he himself is not very rich. So naturally, now the old man was very moved by Hughie and he was now quite devoted to Hughie. And this is what Trevor is telling Hughie. I had to tell him all about you, who you are, where you live, what your income is, what prospects you have. So the old man must have been asking Trevor after Hughie has left that who was this kind gentleman, who is he, where does he live, what is his income. So that old man was asking everything about Hughie from Alan. So Alan is telling him that he became very devoted to you, very loyal to you, and he was asking everything about you from me, right? Now, my dear Alan, cried Hughie. So Hughie is saying, I shall probably find him waiting for me when I go home. So Hughie is saying that you did it very nice that you have told him everything. Now, because you have told him where I live and who I am, so maybe when I go home, I might find him waiting for me at home. He must be standing at my house. Poor old wretch. Rich means someone who is in a very typical state, in a very poor state. So he is saying that he is a poor old man. I wish I could do something for him. So Hughie is saying that I want to help him. If he is there at my house, I have got heaps of old clothes at home. So he's saying that I have got a lot of old clothes at home. So I would give it to him. Do you think he would care for them? So Hughie is saying, do you think that old man will take all my old clothes? Hughie wants to help the old man and give him. Why? His racks were falling to bits. So now Alan is saying that why not? The clothes which the old man was wearing, they were already so torn, they were already falling to bits. So why would he not take your old clothes? He would take it. But he looks splendid in them, said Trevor. So Trevor is saying, no matter what you say, but the old man looked very splendid in those torn old clothes. I wouldn't paint him in a frock coat. So now Trevor is saying that because he was looking like the perfect model of a beggar, that's why I painted him, because he looked very splendid as a beggar. And I wouldn't have painted him in a frock coat for anything, right? Why would he paint him? Because if he was so good looking, then the portrait of the beggar would not have been good, right? So what you call rags, I call romance. So now Trevor is saying to Hughie that what you are calling it as rags, the old clothes, I call it romance. Romance over here means something very exciting, very connecting for the painter. Why? Because of those ragged clothes and the ragged and freckled condition of the beggar, he was able to make a very good portrait of a beggar, right? Because if he was not wearing so much tattered, so much old and torn clothes, his perfection in the portrait, the perfection that he was looking for in the portrait of the beggar wouldn't have come, right? Because now the condition of the old man was such, the beggar's condition was such that he was looking the perfect example, the perfect model of a beggar. So he is calling that, I call it romance, which is very exciting. So I got very excited when I found the perfect model of a beggar. You might call it rags, but I call it romance. What seems poverty to you is picturesqueness to me. So he is saying that you might see the old man and call it to be a poverty, right? That he is a very poor man. But according to me, he was very pleasing to the eye, very attractive to the eye. He is saying these things because he is trying to convey the message that because he was in such a state, as an artist, it was a delight for him, because of the state of the old man, he was able to draw the perfect portrait of a beggar. So, as an artist, it was very satisfying for Trevor, right? Because he found the perfect model for his painting. So all these things which Trevor is saying for the old man is just for the reason that as a painter, he was looking up for a perfect model for his portrait. And in the old man, he found that perfect model. He found that perfection, and it helped him paint a great painting, right? Because the old man resembled the perfect model of a beggar. All right. Alan, said Hughie seriously, you painters are a heartless lot. So Hughie is saying that you painters are really heartless. So the old man is so poor, he was living in poverty, and you are still calling that he was looking very pleasing, very splendid. I call it as a romance. So you are liking his poverty also. So you painters are a very heartless lot. So these are two friends chatting, right? Okay, so now who is going to read? Pranjal, you can continue.
Good morning, teachers.
Good morning.
An artist's heart is his head, replied Trevor. And now tell me how Laura is. The old model was quite interested in her. You don't mean to say you talked to him about her? Asked Yugi. Certainly I did. He knows all about the relentless Colonel.
Relentless. Yes, relentless.
relentless colonel, the lovely Laura, and the 10,000 pounds. You told that beggar all my private affairs, cried Hughie, looking very red and angry. My dear boy, said Trevor, smiling, that old beggar, as you call him, is one of the richest men in Europe. He could buy all London tomorrow without overdrawing his account. He has a house in every capital and dines off gold plates. The old man you saw today in the studio was Baron Hausberg. He is a great friend of mine, buys all my pictures and that sort of thing, and gave me a commission to paint him as a beggar. And I must say, he made a magnificent figure in his rags, or perhaps I should say, in my rags.
Okay. So now, after Hughie has said that you are a heartless lot, so now his friend Alan is saying, uh, okay, an artist heart is his head. So now Trevor is saying that an artist thinks from his head because he has to create good work, right? So he is saying that we are not heartless, we think by a mind, right? We don't always apply our heart everywhere, because if I am so moved by the beggar, then how will I paint him? So this is what the painter is trying to stress on. Now tell me how Laura is. The old model was quite interested in her. So now the painter is saying, now tell me about the condition of Laura. The old beggar or the old model was quite interested in her. So this is giving Hughie a hint that the old man knows about Laura, right? You didn't mean to say you talked to him about her, asked Hughie. So now Hughie is quite surprised. He is saying that please don't say that you have told him everything about Laura, right? Certainly I did. He knows all about the relentless colonel, the lovely Laura, and the 10,000 pounds. So now Trevor is saying that certainly I have told the old man everything because he was asking everything about you. He knows about the relentless colonel. Relentless means someone who is very inflexible, okay, in his approach. So basically, he is very firm in his stand that no matter what, Yugi will have to bring 10,000 pounds, then only I am going to give him my daughter's hand. So this is why the colonel has been called relentless over here, because he was very firm and inflexible in his approach. The old man now knows everything about the relentless colonel, lovely Laura, and the condition of 10,000 pounds. You told that old beggar all my private affairs, cried Hughie, looking very red and angry. So Hughie is saying, what's the matter with you? Why have you told an old beggar all about my private life? That what I am doing in my private life. My dear boy, said Trevor, smiling, that old beggar, as you call him, is one of the richest men in Europe. So now this painter is now telling him about the real identity of the old man. He is saying that you call him an old beggar, but actually he is one of the richest men in Europe. He could buy all London tomorrow without overdrawing his account. Overdraw means to take out money more than what you have in your account. Okay. So he's basically saying that he can buy whole London tomorrow and still he would have money left in his account. So he is that much rich. All right. So you can say that he is very rich, and this line is giving us the hint also that he is one of the richest men in Europe. So in the whole continent, if you see the list of the richest men, if it is being made, then the name of this man will also be there on that list, right? So he is one of the richest men. He can buy the whole of London. He has a house in every capital. So in every capital of every country he has a house. So now he's telling that how much wealth that old man possesses. So in every capital city, that old man has a house and dines off gold plates. So he also has his lunch and dinner also in gold plates. He is that rich. The old man you saw today in the studio was Baron Hosberg. So now we know the name of the old man. His name is Baron Hosberg. He is a great friend of mine, buys all my pictures and that sort of thing. So now Alan is telling Hughie that that rich man is a great friend of his and he buys a lot of his paintings. Okay, because the rich people, they are interested in a lot of artwork. They keep on buying expensive paintings and artifacts, right? We hear it in the news also that an auction is being made for a painting. It was sold for such a high amount. So these rich people, they have these types of interest in painting and works of art. So this old man was also a great friend of this painter Allen, and he used to buy a lot of his pictures, and he gave me a commission to paint him as a beggar. Commission over here means a request was made, right? A request to create an artwork was made by the old man that the painter should paint that old man, that rich old man actually, as a beggar. So he must be having this wish that I want myself to be painted as a beggar. So he made a wish to his painter friend, and then he came to the studio. And I must say, he made a magnificent figure in his racks, or perhaps I should say, in my racks. So basically, the old man must have come into the studio of the painter, and then the painter himself gave him that costume. So that costume which Baron Hosberg, the rich man, was wearing was actually given by Hughie's friend Alan only, who was the painter, to paint him. So he wanted the perfect portrait, so the painter must have created that outfit himself, right? That it should look very torn, it should look very tattered, in a very bad state. So that makeup, that costume, everything was given by the painter himself to the rich old man to make the perfect portrait. Understood? So this was the situation. And now that rich old man, who was one of the richest men in Europe, knew all about Hughie. And now you can understand, since he was very happy with Hughie, because now he has become very fond of Hughie's generosity, right? His loving and caring nature, and he has been very moved by it. So naturally, now Hughie will have some positive changes in his life, right? Let's see what happens. Yes, Sneha, start.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning.
Baron Horsfall, cried you. I gave him a sovereign, and he sang
Sovereign, yes.
sovereign,
Sovereign
and
is
he
a coin in, you can say, in London, in British, and it is equivalent of a pound. All right, in Britain it is used. Yes,
I gave him a sovereign, and he sank into an armchair, the picture of this.
yes.
Gave him a sovereign, shouted Trevor, and burst into a roar of laughter. I think you should have told me, Alan, and not have let me make such a fool of myself, said Yugi Well,
Sulkily, yes.
sulkily. Well, said Trevor, it never entered my mind that you went about in that
Distributing
distributing alms in that reckless way. What a
reckless
duffer
way,
he
yes.
must reckless way. What a duffer he must think, said you. Not
Yes,
at all. He was in the highest spirits after you left, kept chuckling to himself and rubbing his hands together. I couldn't make out why he was so interested to know all about it, but I see it all now. He'll invest your sovereign for you, Yuki, pay you the interest every 6 months, and have a capital story to tell after this.
Okay, stop. Stop, Sneha.
Thank
So
you.
now let's see what happened over here. Now, after Hughie came to know that he was a very rich man, so now he is ashamed of himself, Hughie. Baron Hosberg, cried Hughie. So now he is very shocked. I gave him a sovereign. So now he is feeling very ashamed of himself because now he knows that he is one of the richest men in Europe and I have given him a pound, a sovereign as charity. So now he is feeling very ashamed of himself and he sank into an armchair in the picture of a dismay. Dismay means hopelessness. So now he is feeling very hopeless that when I was giving him that sovereign, what that rich old man must have been feeling that I am such a fool, that I am giving him a sovereign. Gave him a sovereign, shouted Trevor and burst into a roar of laughter. So now Trevor got to know what Hughie has done, right? So he is laughing and saying that you gave him a sovereign. I think you should have told me, Alan, and not have let me make such a fool of myself, said Hughie sulkily. So now Hughie is saying that, Alan, you should have told me about the real identity of that man so that I would not have made such a fool of myself that I gave him a sovereign, said Hughie sulkily. Sulkily means in a state of anger. So he was now feeling very hopeless and angry that he has done such a stupid thing, that he gave that old and rich old man a sovereign. Well said, Trevor. It never entered my mind that you went about distributing arms in that reckless way. So now Trevor is saying that I didn't know that you would go on distributing money to everyone, right? So he's saying that he knows the condition, the financial condition of Yugi. He knows that he is not very good financially. He is himself on what his aunt gives him, right? And that is a very small amount, 200 a year. He's surviving on that. So Trevor is saying that I didn't know that you are going to go and distribute money, distribute arms in such a reckless manner. If I knew that you would do such things, then I might have told you about him. What a duffer he must think me, said Hughie. So Hughie is saying that what a duffer means someone who is very stupid. So he is saying that the old man must be thinking that how stupid I am. Not at all. He was in the highest spirits after you left. So now Trevor is saying, no, he was not thinking at all like this about you. Instead, he was in the highest spirits, means he was very lively, very cheerful, right? Very happy, in a very happy mood, and kept chuckling to himself. Chuckling means when you are very happy, you are laughing and talking, right? So he kept chuckling to himself and rubbing his hands together. Chuckling and rubbing his hands together shows some sort of excitement. So rich old man was actually very excited to meet such a young fellow who had such pleasing and charming personality. And at the same time, he was so generous. He felt so much pity and empathy for others. So this rich old man was very happy to meet a person who was so good at heart. So that's why these are the signs of his happiness, that he was chuckling, rubbing his hands together, and he was in very high spirits. So this is what Trevor is telling Yugi, that don't feel that the old man was feeling angry with you and that you should feel ashamed. Instead, the old man was very happy with your gesture. I couldn't make out why he was so interested to know all about you. So now Trevor is saying that at first, when he was asking so much about you, I couldn't understand why was he so much interested in you. Because at that time, Trevor did not know that Hughie had given him a sovereign as charity, right? At that time. So Trevor could not make out why is this a rich old man so interested in my friend. But now he's saying that now I know why he was so much interested in you. All right. So, but I see it all now. So he's saying now I can understand why he was so interested. He was so moved by your generosity. He will invest your sovereign for you, Hughie. So now Alan is saying that now the sovereign that you have given you, now you will get rich returns for it. So basically, he's saying that you can consider this sovereign that you gave as a form of investment you made in a business, because now you will get a lot of profits out of it. He will invest your sovereign for you, Hughie, pay you the interest every 6 months, and have a capital story to tell after dinner. So now he is saying that now he is going to pay you interest every 6 months and tell a capital story, means tell the story about your business. So basically, what Trevor is trying to say over here is that now he is going to give you a lot of things in return. Since you gave that old man a sovereign and he is so moved, so happy with you, that now he will be favoring you and giving you a lot of financial help. Basically, this is what Trevor is trying to say to you. All right.
Hughie walked,
Yes.
Hughie
You.
walked home after that,
Yes.
feeling very unhappy and leaving Alan Trevor in fits of laughter.
Yes.
The next morning, as he was at breakfast, the servant announced the arrival of a messenger from Baron Husberg.
Yes.
I suppose he has come for an apology, said Hughie to himself, and he told the servant to show the visitor up. An old gentleman with gold spectacles and grey hair came in the room and said in a slight French accent, I have come from Baron Husberg, the Baron. I beg, sir, that you will often offer
Offer
him
him.
my
Yes.
offer him my sincerest apologies,
Yes.
stammered Hughie. The Baron, said the old gentleman with a smile, has commissioned me to bring you this letter, and he extended a sealed envelope. On the outside was written, a wedding present to Hugh Erskine and Laura Morton from an old beggar. And inside was a check for £10,000. When they were married, Alan Trevor was the best man, and Baron made a speech at the wedding breakfast. Millionaire models,
Millionaire
remarked,
models.
remarked Alan, are rare enough, but model millionaires are
Modern
rarer.
model millionaires are rarer still. All right. So now what happened that when Hughie came to know all about this, he started to walk home, leaving Alan Trevor in fits of laughter. So now his friend the painter was still laughing at Hughie's condition, so he kept on laughing, and Hughie start walking towards home because he was very upset at what has happened, because he was thinking now that that old man must be feeling maybe angry with him, what is going to happen, right? The next morning, as he was at breakfast, the servant announced the arrival of a messenger from Baron Hosberg. So now in the next morning, when Hughie was going to have his breakfast, servant told him that a messenger has come from Baron Hosberg. I suppose he has come for an apology. So Hughie is saying that now I think he has come for an apology so that I could apologize to his master. So that I should say sorry to Baron Hosberg that I gave such a rich man a sovereign as right? As charity. All right. As he told servant to show the visitor up. So he told his servant that bring me the messenger so that I can tender my apology to him. An old gentleman with old spectacles and grey hair came into the room and said in a slight French accent, I have come from Baron Hosberg, the Baron. All right. So the has been used over here to give the status, right? That rich man was very famous. The Baron means everybody knows him as the Baron. Everybody at that time knew that old rich man as the Baron. So he is basically giving him the superlative, right? Because when we use the for the renowned and distinguished personality over here, right? So he's saying the Baron, I have come from Baron Hosberg. So this you can notice that even the person who was commissioned with the task, he was also wearing gold spectacles, right? So even the staff of Baron Hosberg was very rich financially because they must have been getting very good salary, right? Because since the employer who was Baron Hosberg, he himself was so rich, so he was paying his staff also quite handsomely. So the man who came up as a messenger, he was also wearing gold spectacles. I beg, sir, that you will offer him my sincerest apologies. So stammered Hughie. So now Hughie was stammering. Stammering means not able to speak properly. So because he was so scared that this man has come now, what he's going to say to me. So he's saying that please offer your sir my sincerest apologies. So he's saying that I am very sorry for what I have done. Please convey my message to your master. The Baron, said the old gentleman with a smile, has commissioned me to bring you this letter. So now that old gentleman is saying that my master, the Baron, has commissioned me. Commissioned me means to has given me a task to do, right? Has commissioned me to bring you this letter, and he extended a sealed envelope. So he gave him a sealed envelope, which was the letter. The Baron has commissioned his staff to deliver it to Hughie. Out on the outside was written, a wedding present to Hugh Erskine and Laura Merton from an old beggar. So now, basically, on the top of the envelope only, it was written that it was a wedding present for Hughie and his girlfriend Laura, right? And inside was a check for £10,000. So Trevor had already told the old man about the condition Hughie was in, how he was in love with Laura, and how the old colonel had put the condition that he is going to get Laura and Hughie married only on the condition that Hughie has £10,000, right? So the old man, the rich old man, wanted to help Hughie, and he gave him £10,000 as check, right? So that Hughie could marry Laura. And that's why he wrote it as the wedding present, right? As a note, he left that it is a wedding present to Hughie and Laura for their marriage. When they were married, Alan Trevor was the best man. So see, in the Western culture, they have this tradition when someone is getting married. So the groom has a best man who is basically his best friend. So best man is there, and the bride also has a bridesmaid, right? And that person is usually someone who is very close to the bride. So this is their tradition. So since Alan was a very good friend of Hughie, so he made Alan Trevor as his best man, and the Baron made a speech at the wedding breakfast. And someone is also there who makes a speech on behalf of the bride and the groom, right? So this is what was done by Baron Hosberg. So it also shows us that Baron Hosberg was so much moved by the kindness, the act of kindness of Hughie, that he also came for Hughie's wedding personally. He was present as one of the guests in the wedding, and he made a speech also for the bride and the groom. Millionaire models, remarked Allen, are rare enough. So Allen is saying that millionaire models are rare enough. Why are they rare? Because models cannot be millionaires. Because we have seen earlier in the story that for modeling, a model gets a shilling an hour, right? Which is very less money. So if you are doing modeling, you can't earn so much, right? That is why this Alan is saying that millionaire models are rare enough. That people who do modeling and are millionaires at the same time. because most of the people who are millionaires, they must be following some sort of commercial activity, they must have their businesses going on, right? So a person who is a millionaire, why would he do modeling for anyone, right? So he's saying that millionaire models are very rare, are rare enough, but model millionaires are rarer still. So he's saying that model billionaires are even more rare, are rarer than millionaire models. So what is a model millionaire? Model millionaire means a person who is a role model for everyone, a role model for all the millionaires, that how they should lead their lives. And one meaning of model millionaire can also be a person who is very rich in moral values, cultural values, how a person should behave. So basically, he is very rich in his moral values and moral conduct, right? So two meanings can be drawn from this word model millionaire, right? That a person who is a role model for all the millionaires, that how millionaires should behave. And another meaning could be this also, that a person who is very rich morally in his conduct, in his way of life, that he is so rich and he acts as a model for others to follow. Understood? So he's saying that rich models are very hard, very tough to find, because the people who are rich, they don't do modeling, and model millionaires are even rarer, right? Why? Because this is also not a commodity which can be found everywhere. Because a person who is so rich in his moral values, in his way of life, a person who is so generous, it is very hard, very difficult to find. Because this old man, Baron Hosberg, was so moved by an act of kindness when he was given a sovereign, that he decided to give £10,000 to Hughie in return. And that is indeed a very big gesture, which no other millionaire would not have done, right? No other millionaire would have given Hughie such a huge amount of money, which Baron Hosberg has given him in act of a small kindness which was done by Hughie, right? So he has been called as the model millionaire, which means the role model for all the millionaires, or you can say that he was millionaire at heart. He was millionaire at having all the moral virtues, right? A good conscience. So he was millionaire in that aspect. Okay. So with this, we complete our story. Record this. See, millionaire models means a model who is very rich. Okay. Means someone who is a millionaire and he is doing modeling also. Okay. So he is saying that millionaire models are very rare. They are very rare to find. Why? Because a person who is a millionaire who is so rich, he must be having his own business, right? He must be running his own business. So why would he do modeling, right? Because we know that models were getting only 1 shilling an hour, right? So it is a very low wage job. So why would a millionaire do modeling? Right? Because he is having so much money and he must be doing his own business. So he's saying that people who are very rich, they won't be models. So millionaire models are rare to find. Then he is saying model millionaires are rarer. Now what is model millionaire? Model millionaire means the perfect role model of a millionaire. So basically, it means that someone who is a millionaire and he can act as a role model for all the other millionaires, that how all the other millionaires should conduct themselves. Understood? How the other millionaires should try to lead their lives, right? How they can be good and responsible towards the society when they are having so much money, right? So this is the expression of model millionaires. And another meaning to model millionaire could this also be this, that someone who is very rich at heart. Understood? Who is very rich in moral values, rich at heart, that person can also be called as model for others, right? So model millionaire can have these two meanings. That's someone who is a millionaire at heart, who is very rich in moral values, in conduct, in conscience, someone who is very rich. So we can call that person a model millionaire. Or another explanation of this term can be those people who are millionaires and they can act as role models, as good individuals to other millionaires. Understood? So these are the two meanings for model millionaires, and millionaire model is someone who is rich and is doing modeling.